Yo, 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 what is going on? How's everybody doing today? There we go. Get some claps. Get some claps. There we go. There we go. Make sure I got my sound right. Yes, sir. How's everybody doing today? I know everybody had a crazy weekend. If you was living underneath a rock, you probably know what's been going on over this crazy, crazy weekend we just had. Yes, sir. It was kind of like, what do you expect? What do you know what's going to happen? Don't know what's about to happen, but I do know we got a lot to talk about today. Yes, boy, it's going to be an interesting one. And oh, yes, I got time today. Oh, yeah, we going to be on here. We ain't being rushed. We got time to sit back, relax, and have this conversation. It's going to be a fun one today because everything I'm about to say is alleged and not true. So don't get mad at me. Oh, man. Happy Monday to everybody. Unfortunately, we got started late today on the show, but nonetheless, we got the show started. With that being said, today, man, we are going to go over our topics today, which is going to be fitness. We are going to see how the fitness industry or just fitness in general did this over exaggeration of has been having an over exaggeration of the male physique. You know what I mean? Like people who look natural, people don't even accept it or, take it for what it is because everybody's so used to seeing everybody on the juice. Yeah, buddy, everybody's on that good old juice. Oh, hold on, I gotta turn my cellular device down so we don't have no sounds going in. There we go. All right, cool. Cellular device is not loud. With that being said, yes, so we're gonna look over that video on the fitness portion of the show, and then we're gonna get to the economy. Now, you probably already know if you didn't see the thumbnail, or you probably just guessed on your own that we're gonna talk about what's been going on over the weekend, and I'm gonna give my opinion and my synopsis on what I think is true. But again, everything I say is a lie, so don't come at me. I'm just making all this stuff up with no proof, no facts, and no evidence. Yes, that's what we're doing. So we're gonna talk about the old situation that's been going on with Israel and Iran, and of course the U.S. now. Jesus, what is going on? I mean, at the end of the day, at some point, I'm hoping it don't get too bad, because if it does get too bad, it's gonna look or sound something like this. Hopefully we don't get to that point. Hopefully, no, I don't think it will. I mean, it's gonna be bad. I can admit that it's gonna be bad, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna be that. But it is gonna be what it's gonna be allegedly what I put up here whenever we get to the economy portion of the show to see my opinion on this particular topic. Then we're gonna go to the last portion of the show, which is AI, and we're gonna look at AI and dating and try to figure out what's going on with AI and dating, because with what we have going on now, I think AI and dating will be the least of our worries, but that's just me talking. At the end of the day, people find dating more important than what's going on in the world as a whole. But at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel, let Mr. Chow tell you how it should be.
Oh, you're having a bad day? Did you die?
I got shot.
But did you die?
And as long as that didn't happen, you should be A-okay. No fear, no stress, no worry. You got to be in tune with yourself, something greater than yourself, because it's going to get rough out here, bro. I don't know what to tell you. It's just going to be like, it's going to get stressful. It's going to get strenuous, but you got to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing. However, if you want to contribute to today's show, bam, Cash App Daniel2888. Venmo is going to be Danny-Daniel-00. Yes, that's what it's going to be. And you can contribute, and we're greatly appreciated. And if you're on YouTube, do me a favor. You're going to see this little big thumb up thing that's going to... Did it come up? Oh, yeah, it came up. Sorry. You're going to see a thumbs up. Hit that little thumb up button. Get the likes going. Get the algorithm out. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you could do that, I'd be greatly appreciated. If you could make that happen, man. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the first portion of the show. I need to get my banner up here. Where are we? Bam. So oh, did it come up? Oh, man, I think I screwed it up. Oh, no. Oh, no. Wait, hold on. Can we fix it live? Can we fix it? Ah, there we go. You shouldn't be seeing all that, but you are. Bam. So we fixed it live. So we're going to get to the first portion of the show, which is going to be the fitness portion of the show. And we're going to go ahead and take a look. And let me go ahead and get this pulled up over here and hit the good old refresh button, because, you know, if I don't hit the refresh button, YouTube is going to go ahead and place their ads right in the middle of my show. Just all out rude and disrespectful. I don't know what's wrong with these people. No, I'm just kidding, YouTube. Just playing. But, you know, they got to do what they got to do. I got to do what I got to do. And we're going to make this happen together. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the first portion of the show, fitness. We're going to go ahead and see that the male body standards are out of control. Yes. I mean, people out here looking like, what are they looking like? I don't know how to explain it. What people out here looking like. What are they looking like, y'all? What are people looking like? They're looking like, they looking like people on super juice. That's all I can say. Super juice. Yes, they on the super juice out here with all sorts of side effects and all sorts of nonsense. But we're gonna tap in and we're gonna figure out why it is out of control. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let me go ahead and cut this on right here, and we're gonna see why the male body standards is out of this world. All right. Oh, man. What happened? Oh, no. They got the wrong banner on that one, too. But we fixed it. We good. So, with that being said, let's get started.
For men, today's standards of muscularity are fucking obscene.
We used to aspire to be like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. And now, because of this incessant drive of consumer capitalism, this incessant permeation of our brain.
And by the way, fair use to Josh Brett for this video. Fair use, and shout out to him. Let's continue.
Subconsciously with social media algorithms.
Physique inflation is very real.
And it seems to be happening at an accelerating rate.
And fitness enthusiasts are concerned.
We are led like sheep into the slaughter to ever more muscular and lean physiques.
To the point where a great physique 10 years ago can be considered average or even bad by today's standards.
Mike Chang, Scott Herman, Jeff Nippard, their natural status used to...
They said fitness inflation. I've never heard of such thing. Fitness inflation. So we got inflation on currency. Now we got inflation on fitness. Sheesh. Shout out to Jeff Nippard. That man says he's natty. I'm going to go ahead and agree with him, but let's continue.
To be perceived as highly questionable. Today, people are calling them average.
Follow the science-based guys. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
A shift we can see in Baywatch, Marvel movies, amongst modern superheroes, reality TV shows, and suspiciously muscular Netflix teenagers.
Can you rate this guy's physique?
Can't see him.
Oh. What is wrong with you? You think this is a dad bod? Have you seen what most dads actually look like in the real world?
Let's unmute the mic. So that's a dad bod, huh? That's a dad bod? All right. I'm with it. If that's what they think a dad bod is, boy, people, y'all got some standards to live up to. But let's continue.
Dad bod? Have you seen what most dads actually look like in the real world?
Experts are worried it's an issue that's trickling down from the bodybuilding world. An illusion, driving many to shortcuts.
Hot take, but I think guys being a little overweight like this is attractive. What?
Male body dysmorphia is on track to overtake female body dysmorphia within about 2 decades.
So why are experts worried? It's about to get a lot worse. And how did we end up in this position?
Is that what a man looks like?
Fight Club was a pivotal film on the turn of the century. People wanted to look like this. Impressive, but also realistic.
Seriously? It's like you're photoshopped.
Back then, performance enhancers carried a heavy stigma.
Take steroids and eventually everyone will see you for what you really are. A fake, a fraud, an asterisk.
But in bodybuilding, they became essential. Each year, competitors pushed to get bigger and leaner, no matter the cost.
All right, so let's see what we got here. And sorry about that. I had my chat GPT all on the screen. I may have to do a little edit on that part right there. Jesus, hopefully you didn't see everything I'm over here asking my chat GPT character. Jesus, I may have to I don't know. I may have to do some serious editing to this video before I put it out there to the world. Sheesh. But anyway, so this is what we're looking at right here. So we see is the old classic old school physique of people from back in the day to what we got here currently to what we see now. And I mean, I would say it looks to me, well, I don't know, it doesn't look the same. I mean, as you can see, these guys were a little bit leaner, a little bit slimmer, but it doesn't change the fact that everybody was on juice. I mean, everybody was on the juice. Now, you want to blame it on the juice, or can you blame it on the food? That's my question. Is it the food with juice that, you know, put these dudes to, you know, put on an extra 100 pounds of, you know, mass and muscle, or is it just the juice? I don't know, but let's continue. Let's see. Uh-oh.
From Steve Reeves to Jay Cutler, the look became more extreme, so everyday people turned to Hollywood physiques for inspiration. Hugh Jackman, Chris Evans, Henry Cavill. But the extreme standards of bodybuilding had already begun to trickle into the mainstream.
There comes a day where being average, being mediocre, is just sickening to you.
Video blogs blew up, then Instagram, focusing the attention on the visual. Fitness wasn't just about health anymore, it was about aesthetics. And this marked the rise.
It all started in 1990.
Okay, so they're saying that being average and looking regular is sickening, which is kind of sad, man, because if you're not just okay with the natural that people look like and you just can't, I mean, it's crazy because if you hit a really good physique and you're natural and you think that that's not good enough because you're comparing yourself to somebody who is not natural, that's gonna be a problem in my personal opinion. I think it's gonna be a problem because people are gonna be, first you're going to be altered. So you're going to turn to drugs and think that drugs are going to be the things that make you feel right. You think that drugs is the attainable level, and it shouldn't be, but in today's world it is. So if you think that taking drugs is the goal physique to look like, unless you're competing with bodybuilding, and you have that mentality, you're just a regular person, but you think a natty build doesn't look good with good dieting and exercise and discipline. I mean, that's just a recipe. That's just a recipe for a disaster, in my opinion. I mean, sheesh. So hopefully you don't take it that serious, but let's continue. Here we go.
Influencer.
And I just want to share my experiences and advice of what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me.
More and more influencers joined the scene, but it was ultimately the most impressive looking that rose to the top. Genetic outliers, with many suspected of taking shortcuts to get ahead.
Guys like Mike O'Hearn and Simeon Ped, those guys aren't natural, but yet they claim they are, and so they also stand out.
The demand for more impressive physiques was reflected in Hollywood, with the remaking of Baywatch and progression of Chris Hemsworth, Zac Efron, and Hugh Jackman. But people began calling actors out for secretive steroid use.
Reporter Greg here, reporting the news. The Rock's lying! Hello, wake up and smell the freaking coffee!
This kindled the demand for humbleness, honesty, and transparency. So a new type of influencer emerged.
I am sick of fake influencers.
But some people...
All right, he said he's sick of fake influencers, but a homie is on the juice. I did a little research on him, but he been on that juice hardcore. And it's kind of crazy when this is my thing. They get on the juice, right? They do juice for like, God knows how long, 10 years, 15 years. Then they reap the benefits of being, and I'm not hating, I'm just stating facts. They'll reap the benefits of being on the juice, which I always say, if you're not natty, then your pockets are gonna be fatty, because that's just how the world seems to work. They reap all the benefits from being on the juice. Then now, I guess they turn around and look back and say, hey, don't do this. You know, it's going to give you heart problems and kidney problems and liver problems. And you're going to have this disease and that issue and that problem. All while you over here sitting on like millions of dollars. Hey, come on. Like, you sit here telling like young, impressionable young men not to do what you did, but yet, you know, you have a nice house, you have a very nice car, you know, like they looking at you like, sir, I mean...
He didn't say that. Tell me he didn't just say that.
The kids are looking at you and they're like, well, sir, it looks like the risk was worth the reward, because they would rather be in your position than be broke. I mean, that's what I think. So you go back and you tell everybody, hey, don't go this way. Although I got this stockpile of money and all my bills are taken care of and my car is nice and my woman is with me because I'm rich and I got like, it's just like they can't see past that. That's the problem. I mean, few can, but for the most part, like, people are like, look, bro, you're rich, and if that's what it took to get rich, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. So yeah, let me know what to do. Continue.
Started being a little too transparent.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to teach you some steroid maps.
Perhaps normalizing and glorifying steroid usage. It became less taboo and more accessible, which led to a sharp rise in young users.
That's why it went viral originally in short form, because nobody ever thought about posting videos of them injecting steroids and then working out.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Some influencers began to use Photoshop and camera tricks to stand out.
These aren't the only people in the industry doing this. Check your newsfeed. If you follow a lot of fitness people, I guarantee you will find more that are doing this now that you're made mentally aware of it.
This became such a problem. The Instagram versus reality subreddit gained over 1 million followers, exposing many people for using filters and tricks.
Do I even need to draw the lines to show this is edited?
I mean, that's not cool. Don't fake the funk. You ain't got a lot to kick it. You ain't got a lot to kick it. Just be who you are. If you got rolls and love handles on your side, then let it be what it is. You know, you're not gonna be perfect at fitness. However, like I just said, you're getting rewarded. Like, you're getting rewarded financially for these. So if you took pictures and photoshopped your photos, and the post and all of the views and the comments worked the algorithm, you benefited from it. So regardless of the harmful effects that you put on people's brains and making them think that that's really you when it's not, it doesn't matter. You're still laughing all the way to the bank, and that's what it boils down to.
The more people watched trained the algorithm, so social media learned exactly how to keep you scrolling. Now, if you ask ChatGPT for the average male that goes to the gym regularly, you're presented with this.
There's nothing average about this body for a 35 to 40-year-old male who goes to the gym regularly.
It worked this out from the internet, where edited and optimized bodies aren't rare, they're the standard. Body dysmorphia is...
Okay, buddy over there, he cheated hardcore. This guy right here,
bodies.
Like, come on, bro. Like, really? Hopefully you didn't, like, this is you and you put this out there. I mean, maybe you just did this as like a show before and after Photoshop. Hopefully he didn't just like try to put that out to his people and say, look at me, this is me. But this is pushing it.
Aren't rare, they're the standard. Body dysmorphia is becoming a cultural aesthetic as opposed to a mental health issue. To many, natural doesn't even look normal anymore. As highlighted by the recent trend, showing long-time lifters revealing their physiques in natural light, only to face brutal criticism. This is what 8 years of training looks like. Achievable in 1 year. This is 13 years of consistency. Mid-30.
Dang, you see how the image of standard, how natural standards look. But I mean, you can go the same thing on the female side, as far as like a natural woman. I mean, everybody's used to BBLs and breast implants and lip fillers and all that stuff now. I mean, the only problem is now you just can't tell which one is a dude and which one is a lady at some point. It kind of gets crowded in between, you know what I mean? So it really goes both ways on both sides of the spectrum. It's really sad that people are not in. It's sad that being non-natural rewards you exponentially, because I even had Greg Doucette speak on that on a show that I had did previously, and he basically said the fact that you take steroids, it will increase your odds exponentially of being successful. And that's what it boils down to. The economy's rough, people need to get paid, and that's how everything goes.
10 years. You can easily achieve this in 2 to 3 years. We're talking about bodybuilders here.
Oh yeah, of course. Hit us with the good old ad. But yes, with that being said, it's like looking at somebody natural and even in like competing in bodybuilding shows, people already know that these people are not natural and they get rewarded. That's just the whole thing. Like, the risk is worth the reward in the end, because nobody wants to sit here and just be struggling trying to do the right thing, and at the end of the day they see the right thing is not paying. The right thing is causing more struggle and strife. And I mean, how do you tell a 15-year-old kid that? How do you tell a 21-year-old kid that? You don't. They're looking at the reality of life, and they're seeing people who are born way before them winning, and not just winning one thing is they're winning, but on top of them winning, their investments have panned out. They probably invested in Bitcoin when it was like, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000. They probably got a home that's potentially paid off. They probably got multiple real estate properties, got, you know, passive income, or, you know, a cash flow coming in, I should say. So it's kind of hard to like steer them away, because it's like, hey, it's working and you can't tell them no different. But, you know, to each his own. Let's continue.
I personally don't think it's surprising that so many younger people are taking a metric fuckload of anabolic steroids.
Yet, while some worry about physique inflation, others argue we're glorifying obesity. To understand what's really happening, we need to look at the data. Is the average man actually getting fitter? The average American is 5'9", 200 pounds, with a 40.5-inch waist, putting body fat between 20 and 30%. Obesity is on the rise. The average...
Okay, so the average man is what, 5'9"? Really? Average man is 5'9", 200 pounds, 40.5-inch waist. Okay, that's the average man. Interesting. I never looked into that, so that's interesting to know. So if the average man is 5'9", oh man, I guess you guys ain't getting a wife no time soon, because these women want you to be 6 foot tall. I was just kidding.
Between 20 and 30%. Obesity is on the rise. The average American eats around 3,500 calories a day and takes just 4,800 steps. No wonder health span is falling. In fact, 1 in 4 people can't do a full squat, and 1 in 3 can't manage a single push-up, according to a UK fitness report. But the average fitness...
Hold on, let's go ahead and read that.
Can't manage a single push-up, according to a UK fitness report.
So when asked how many push-ups they could do until failure, 1 in 3 people stated that they were unable to do any push-ups at all. So 32%, and just over half of the population, 52%, are only able to complete a maximum of 3 push-ups at a time. Meanwhile, 1 in 4 can complete 10 or more push-ups in a minute. 1 in 4. Okay, so that's interesting. Sheesh.
But the average fitness enthusiast is likely more muscular thanks to better information, equipment, and resources. A good thing, since the fitness industry has made things easier. If we look to powerlifting data, the average bench is somewhere around 250 to 300 pounds, squat 350 to 400, and deadlift 425 to 475 pounds. But those are trained competitive athletes. It's like comparing your reading speed to someone in a book club. The average 5K time for men, around 29 minutes, and that's only amongst those fit enough to sign up to a race. Here's what the average American man looked like in 2011. The truth is, the average person looks nothing like the physiques that we're constantly being shown online. It's becoming rarer for people to maintain a healthy weight, and it's this stark, widening contrast that experts are worried about.
How old are you?
16.
16? But are you natty or not, bro? Wow.
Oh no, you're 16. Well, you know what? I'm not even gonna sit here and like make myself seem surprised. I mean, 16 on juice, that if you play sports, or if you're in any sports, you know what it is. That stuff is normal. So this is not surprising. If you play sports and, you know, playing against, you know, other students that were on juice in sports, boy, let me tell you, that stuff right there sucked. Whew. I mean, that's one thing, to experience playing sports with other students, with other people that were on steroids, and you saw the before and you saw the after, and you like played with them while they were on juice. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was tempting. It was very tempting, because you saw not just the physical aesthetic of that person improve dramatically, but you saw their performance. I played football, so the performance of these students on juice was impeccable, because not only they got like nice and aki and you know, all, you know, buffed up. I mean, their IQ playing the sport was just like out of this world. You was like, it's almost like you couldn't compete with it. That's just, it was that much of a noticeable, you know, increase in performance. I was like, man. and you ask anybody that was on it what they would tell you, they'll say like there was a mental edge that you had, like a superiority complex that came with it. And yeah, I mean, so at 16, it sounds crazy now, but I mean, this has been going on. This ain't nothing new, so don't be surprised.
Oh, I respect the honesty, bro.
Today, there's more teenagers doing steroids than ever before. People who have barely been training, jumping.
But at least with what I'm referring to, the students who were taking juice back then, they were playing a sport to just, you know, yeah, they were playing a sport or maybe even powerlifting. But now to just take juice and to just have the aesthetics and just to get famous online for, you know, financial gains without actually using the juice for any kind of activity or sport, it's kind of like, good Lord, like, come on, man, that's pushing it. But again, nothing's new. This has been going on, so it's nothing to be, you know, like OMGing about.
Being straight to enhancements.
There's nothing respectable about taking gear at 16 years old. Period.
The rise of people using steroids while claiming they're natural, or just eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, is fueling unrealistic expectations.
Let me tell you right now, this guy, he's 100% natural. Like, look at that. That is a natural build. This guy, if you want to argue with me about this guy being natural, you know, then you could just jump off of a bridge, because this guy is completely natural. I've seen his videos. He is 100% the real deal Holyfield. Like, he has, you know, he's worked hard for those abs and everything.
They're natural, or just eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, is fueling unrealistic expectations, leading many to give up on their fitness routines altogether. Reckless performance-enhancing drug use and poor mental health. Perhaps a greater issue is not physique inflation, but deflation, where people think they need TRT or steroids to gain a bit of muscle and look good. Patience is a dying art on social media.
For all the years,
patience is a dying art. Man, that's a bar. To say that is a bar. Patience is a dying art because everything is so instant. We are in a popcorn lifestyle right now, so that's facts. That's
Up to
facts.
this point, what people focused on was nutrition, workout routines. There is such a disturbing trend right now where those search terms and even those interests have been replaced by TRT, SARMs, peptides, Ozempic.
A recent study found that the fitness advice given by the most followed fitness influencers is often either harmful or lacks credibility. Hardly a surprise when the most extreme stuff rises to the top. Fitness has become.
You know, I never understood why this dude caught so much hell for this video. Where is he? Go back.
Hardly a surprise.
This dude right here. I never understood why he caught the third degree
rises
over his morning routine video. I just don't get it. Good Lord, 777 million views? Golly. Okay, people just hating at that point. People mad at him. I don't understand why he caused so much hell over the morning fitness or the morning routine video. Like, I thought it was obvious he was just, you know, like, you know, I thought he was BSing the whole time. I thought it was obvious because you have, like, right here it says 3:56 a.m. he's brushing his teeth. At like 3:57 he's like jumping into a pool. At like 3:58 he's like dressed up in a tuxedo. I thought it was clear, like, hey, he's shooting the shit. He's just BSing. It's like he's not serious, but I guess because it worked, people hated on him and didn't like it and couldn't stand it. This is my opinion. I don't know, but he caught so much backlash for this. Like, this isn't real. He's not really doing this. It's like, well, duh. I mean, but hey, whatever.
To the top. Fitness is becoming less about health and more about performance art. A hyper-reality crafted to maximize views. This is why people are suggesting that fitness influencers are a plague on getting fit. It's why what Martin Birkin coined f***arounditis is still such a problem. The tendency to avoid consistent effort and focus on unproductive activities, resulting in a lack of progress towards a goal. It's not one person's fault.
What the hell is this? What is this? Bro, that's dangerous. Don't put this out there. Come on. You know, remember there were kids out there eating Tide Pods. They were dumb enough to eat Tide Pods. Now you sitting here wrapping yourself up in saran wrap thinking some kid, man, come on, bro. Don't do this. People ain't smart enough to not know that you cannot breathe while you got this around your face. Don't, oh my Jesus.
But the deeper consequence of fitness social media. If you're not shredded, you have a dad bod. Bear in mind, many of these people are Hollywood superheroes, some of which have probably taken steroids. And this is literally Superman. However, a large reason these sort of posts go viral is because they're such wild takes. Regardless,
I mean, I think it did come out that he did do some juice to become Superman. She's saying, man, this is all we want. Little body, hit whatever. You can read it. Muscle, little fat, it's that simple. Yeah, but he's on juice, though. That's all that is. He's just, he's on juice. And the juice don't be cheap, you know. I mean, you got to spend some money to make these gains happen. So, you know, but I don't know if she thinks that, I don't think she cares if it's natural. I just think she just wants what she wants. So shout out to her, no hating.
there's a clear rising pressure for men. A study found 22% of men, aged 18 to 24, show signs of muscle-focused eating disorders. Even the godfather of American fitness grew concerned about the mental benefits of exercise being neglected. As the television was first invented,
Well, this is what I think. People have gotten so far away from the natural way they should be living that they have lost the ability to be happy anymore. Because you cannot separate the mind and the body. It's an impossibility. Exercise is not only to make you more beautiful, more glamorous, but the therapeutic value of exercise, how it relieves nervous tension, how it increases your pep, your energy, and your vitality. That's the wonders of exercise.
this is why if my own
That right there is actually a bar. That is beyond true. Like that right there. It's like the effects that you get from exercising. You're like getting rid of bad energy. You know what I mean? You're I guess you're trying to, not trying, but whenever you exercise, you're like eliminating the negative side of you and moving into a positive state of thing. You're like raising your frequency is the best way to say it. And when you take that away, it eliminates the point of working out, because with the juice, you don't have to work out as much. You can kind of cheat your way through it because it kind of helps with the progress that you're supposed to be doing. You know, you don't have to go as hard, but you still get the results. So going into the gym, you're trying to get rid of your negative mindset. You're trying to get rid of your negative thoughts and your negative feelings, because you know you have to earn it. And then when you get done, you're like floating, you're on cloud 9, enjoying yourself. You know, it's kind of like if you ever do any combat training, boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever it is. If you're in a round with somebody, a 3-minute round, your mind is not fixed on nothing else but dealing with whoever is in front of you or your sparring partner or whatever. You are focused in those 3 minutes, and in that 3 minutes, nothing else matters, nothing else counts. Because in those 3 minutes, you can get tapped, you can get tapped out, you can get knocked out, or you can get beat up pretty good. And you're trying to focus on surviving. Like you're in a zone, you're in an element, and to take that away defeats the purpose of why you're even in there to begin with. So yeah, what he just said right there was extremely important. Like, let's hear him say it one more time.
How it increases, but the therapeutic value of exercise, how it relieves nervous tension, how it increases your pep, your energy, and your vitality. That's the wonders of exercise.
That is the wonders. And you know, as you get older, you want to keep up the exercise and, you know, fight, you know, future diseases like osteoporosis, or you don't want to have weak muscles, you know, because your muscles will move your bones, and you want to be able to have that going forward and being able to play with your grandchildren. If you got kids, you want to be able to play with your grandkids, because you got to be able to keep up with them. But if you're on juice, if you're cheating your way to that, and as you get older, you're not going to probably be able to experience all the greatness of it unless you got the money to take care of your health. And that's where, you know, the risk and the reward comes in, because people see that it's financially feasible to go the short route for the money in the long term. But, you know, they say health is wealth. Is it really worth damaging your health when at the end of the day, you may be spending a lot of that wealth on your health down the line? But that's just me talking.
This is why for my own transformation, I limited the time I spent on social media, and it helped a ton. I didn't end up looking like Ashton Hall, perhaps because I didn't wake up at 3 AM, but I'm no longer built like E.T., because I actually stuck to my routine.
You only fail if you stop.
Gym inflation might be a thing on social media and in comment sections, but in reality, things seem to be heading the other way. Most of the people mocking top-tier physiques or real fitness progress are just online too much, caught up in an echo chamber, inflated by physique inflation. That's why curating your media diet is crucial. Follow people who actually benefit you, not negatively warp your perspective.
The term influence means to have an effect on the character or development of someone. Be mindful of who you follow, and be careful of who you let influence you.
Be proud of your own progress, and remember that a vast industry profits off your insecurity. In other words, It's best to focus on your own habits, because it's hard to worry about other people's grass being greener when you're more focused on watering your own.
All right. Okay. So shout out to them for that video right there, man. That was actually a good video. I'm gonna give him a round of applause. I can't find it. There it is. Give him a round of applause for that video. That was actually a good one to look into. So shout out to him. Yeah, buddy. Shout out to them, man. And yeah, that's one thing you have to pay attention to. Do not be so, up in arms about how other people look and what other people are doing. Don't worry about the aesthetics part of fitness, because you'll get caught up in that, and then you'll realize you'll start losing mobility. You start to do things like squat, and when you're working on your squat, if you're a person that works on your legs, that is, you're not supposed to skip leg day, but people do. But working on your squat, that's one of the things you're gonna find, that doing those workouts, your mobility of going down to get the weight up is gonna be painful. It's gonna hurt. Nobody wants to have no bad mobility when you're doing a squat. It sucks. I've been there. You have to work on it. You gotta fight to get that mobility right, and the best way to do it is to lighten the weight and then slowly increase from there by focusing on your form. But having too much muscle mass, it can be detrimental for your health and just for your, overall well-being, because your body is not supposed to be handling all this extra muscle. And if you put on a lot of it quickly, your joints and tendons and stuff, it's not ready for that shock that you're putting on it. Your body didn't build up to it to be able to progressively maintain what you're adding to it. Your bones, your joints and tendons and stuff like that, your ligaments, it didn't slowly but surely be able to grasp the fact that you're increasing. It just happened immediately. And when that happens, that's how injuries happen. You know what I mean? So just be careful going for the aesthetic look, because your body just might not be able to handle what you're giving it. That's why, going the natural route. But then again, like the world we live in, man, I mean, there's a pill or a injection for everything. So, I say this, but then, somebody goes in and takes an injection or a pill or whatever for recovery, and it just, bounces them back like nothing's wrong. So I think we're at the point of no return where, I think they fixed it to a point to where you can go unnatural and do pretty well, I might say. The miracles of modern science, I mean, they getting pretty good at it, I might say. I can't even knock them. I must say they're it's to the point where you start looking and you start thinking to yourself, you're like, I think I'm gonna give in and start juicing. I'm just saying, just be careful, do what you do. I don't care if whatever route you choose, just as long as you are informed and you understand what it is that's going on with your body as you go through said situation or said what is it called, cycle that you choose to do. Those things are important to know. So before you do, understand that it can actually hinder you. Because I do remember a story real quick. I do remember back in high school, there was a kid who was clearly taking juice, and the coaches knew it too. Coaches wasn't blind to the fact, because you see a kid benching, I don't know, like 200, 220, 235, right? Then the next time they go in and they bench, they pushing up like 285, 300, repping it multiple times. You know what I mean? So they sitting here repping 285 or 300 when they last max was like 225, and you're just sitting there looking like, bruh, I gotta go play football with this fool, and this fool is gonna be smashing on me, bruh. This fool hit hard. I can't deal with this. And they just looking like, hey, good job. Hey, you're doing good. Keep up the good work now. That's what hard work is. And I'm looking at you like, bruh, you trying to tell me that's what hard work does? I'm out here being natural, and this kid got the miracles of modern science pulsing through his veins, and I'm not knocking him. I was like, hey, I want something too if I could get some, which I could have at the time. I just was too scared to do it. But just seeing it actually work in action for the performance, man, it was amazing. It was amazing to see. And yeah, so just be safe out there, man. Oh, I guess the story, I messed up. I got sidetracked. So I remember a kid who used to take juice playing football, and I saw him, you know, start from here, and next thing you know, he's just like getting IQ. I mean, his IQ on the field was amazing. It was spectacular. Like just seeing him move and navigate and do all this good stuff, it was great to see. But then he ended up having, you know, his mental wasn't strong, because I guess they say that the juice messes with your mental over time. And he ended up, he ended up in his shoulder or something like that, his arm or his shoulder. He did that to himself. He made it. He didn't, you know, he didn't lose his life, but he went ahead and skitty popped himself in the shoulder. Shout out to CGA. And, you know, it was like a little big ordeal or whatever about that happening. And I remember, I was like, why he do that? And I guess it was behind some girl, but I mean, maybe but from what I hear, people who take juice, they have that mental complex of, you know, like, is my girl cheating on me, or what is she doing? And like, you have this, I guess, this insecurity or this jealous rage about you. So I do remember that happening to him. And, you know, we were what, under 18 and under, 17, 18 years old at the time. So that's something that you have to like take into consideration. Like, can you handle what comes with it mentally? Because it looks good physically, and also you don't want to be lactating at your nipples if you don't do the cycle right. So there's a lot of things that come with it. So just be careful out there and kind of know what you're getting yourself into, okay? All right. So shout out to them for that video, man. We greatly appreciate that video. That, what's his name? Josh Brett. I think his name was Josh Brett. I got rid of the tab already. I can't see it, but Josh Brett. I hope that was your name. If I say it right, forgive me. Shout out to you. Great video, man. Good, very informative video. We greatly appreciate that, man. Shout out to you. That was fantastic. Okay, so now, I forgot to do this part of the show, but I guess I gotta get it set up. So before we do, and yeah, I had my whole, whatchamacallit, showing on the screen, which was an accident. Let me see if I can find this for you real quick. Let me see. You know what? I gotta do this real quick. I have to do it on the fly, but we are going to get into the organ of the day, and I have to get this set up really fast because, yeah, we're doing it live. The organ of the day that we're going to go over is going to be the large intestines. Yes, we're going to go into the large intestines, and I don't know if I have actual video to go over. Yeah, actually I have a video it's going to show. Video is kind of gross. I'm not even going to lie to you. So I'm going to try to read this fast as you watch this gross video as I read this off to you. So let me go ahead and hit the mute button on that. It's just going to cycle over and over. I'll read this quick as I can for you, so just try not to look at the visual. Hopefully you're not eating right now, because this is going to be kind of nasty, but hey, it is what it is. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Where is it at? Where's my thing on my screen? Here we go. So is this right here? Here we go. Bam. All right, so we got this video. As you see, it's the large intestine. It's understanding the large intestine and how it works. So while this video is cycling, what you're going to see right here is going to start doing this nasty little thing. I'm going to go ahead and read this off to you, so let's get straight to it. Large intestine is the final section of the digestive system. Its primary role is to absorb water and electrolytes from indigestible food matter and to compact and store waste before it is eliminated from the body. So it turns it from a liquid to a solid. Main part of large intestine is the cecum, a pouch-like area that connects to the small intestines via the ileococcalial valve. I butchered that word. The colon, the largest portion, is divided into 4 regions. It has the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon. The rectum, it stores feces until eliminated. And then the anus is the opening through which it is expelled. Then the functions are, it has water absorption, which extracts water from undigested food, the formation of feces, which then it solidifies waste material, and then the bacterial fermentation, gut flora helps digest some substances and produces vitamins like vitamin K and biotin. And storage and elimination, it stores waste until you have to use the bathroom, until elimination. So as what we're seeing in this video right here. So that's why I had to show this video, to give you understanding as to how the large intestines work. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move away from that nasty video, and we're gonna have this lady right here. Shout out to my anatomy teacher. She's gonna go ahead and give a rundown on the large intestines. So with that being said, let me pull this down right here and let's let her take it away. So
60-second
there we go.
review of the large intestine. We start at the cecum here. The cecum is the first part of the large intestine. It is receiving the digesting food matter from the distal part of the small intestine called the ileum. So we have the cecum, which transitions into this portion of the colon called the ascending colon. The reason this is called the ascending colon is that the food matter is going to be ascending, moving up this portion of the colon. Then we have the transition. We have this curvature here, which is called the right colic flexure. So that transition point is the right colic flexure because it's at the right upper quadrant of the abdominal region. Can also be called the hepatic flexure because it is right nearby the liver. Then we have the transverse colon because it is carrying that digesting food matter across. And then we have the left colic flexure. The left colic flexure can also be called the splenic flexure because of its proximity to the spleen. Finally, we have the descending colon here, the descending colon carrying the digesting food matter down, and that is going to transition into the sigmoid colon, which is called the sigmoid colon because it has this S shape. The sigmoid colon will lead into the rectum, which then leads into the anal canal. So those are the parts of the large intestine.
All right, shout out to her. Shout out to the anatomy teacher on that one. Yes, good job, good job, good job on explanation. Yes. Now, I have another one here that we could actually look at, but I think this one's going to be too gross. I think I kind of grossed y'all out already with that first video because I thought that was pretty gross, showing the liquid to solid state of what the large intestine does. I thought it was pretty nasty. So I think she gave it a pretty good rundown. So I'm just going to go ahead and just X out these two right here. We don't really need to go over any more of that. That was just pretty gross. I thought that was nasty. I don't even know why that was. Jesus. Ew. 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 Yes, but shout out to them. We got a very good understanding. And hey, the more you know about your body, you know, somebody said know thyself. You know what I mean? They say that there in the Bible, and a lot of people do not know thyself or know how thyself works. So that's what I'm here for. Here to give you a little bit of information, to provide you with a little bit of value so you can understand more about your human body, because you probably don't know anything about it, nor do you care to know. So while you're here, I'm gonna let you know. You're welcome. Yes, you're welcome. All right, with that being said, so that's going to be it for the fitness portion of today's show. We're going to switch over into the next portion of today's show, which is going to be called the economy. And once again, I have a messed up I got to fix it on the go today. This is crazy. But whoops, did I just do that? I sure did. Bam, we fixed it. So there we go. So we got the economy portion of the show that we are segueing into. And there is a lot to talk about with the economy portion of the show. Yeah, it's just a whole lot. We are going to I'm going to tackle the economy portion of the show we're going to talk about the war with Israel and Iran, but I'm going to give you my opinion on how this war is going, but I'm looking at it from a banker perspective. So I'm going to bring a little bit of research from the past, and then we're going to work our way all the way up to where we are now, okay? So bear with me. Everything I'm saying is allegations. None of it is true. I'm a liar, conspiracy theorist, whatever you want to call it. This ain't true. Fact check me. Don't take my word as gospel. Just stating my opinion, my hypothesis, see what I come to. So we're going to go ahead and start this off. So with that being said, starting off first, we're going to go back to a time. The time is going to be 1693. Yes, 1693. An old guy named William Patterson we're going to start off with. And again, this is just my little story. This is how I'm going to put this together. Take it with a grain of salt. Let me know if you can find some holes in what I'm saying or whatever. But we're just going to go with it and see if this all makes any sense. But we got to figure out as to what direction we're headed in and why things are happening. Because a lot of the times people see things like, oh, this country's fighting this country because of this reason, and this is the reason why this country is fighting, and why did we do this, and why did they do that? We're going to narrow it down and get to the meat and potatoes, the nitty gritty of it. So again, 1693. We got a fella right here. Here we go. We got to switch that banner off right there real quick too. Bam. Mr. William Patterson. All right, so this guy right here, there was a need for a privately owned central bank and was fronted by a retired pirate by the name of William Patterson. And he wrote a pamphlet in 1693 and entitled A Brief Account of the Intended Bank of England. Okay, so, you know, he would later boast that this bank had the benefits of interest on all monies which is created out of nothing. Okay, so this is what we have here. This guy right here is who basically started the whole Bank of England pamphlet. This is like, he basically wrote like the playbook type thing. Like, hey, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to set the Bank of England up, and this is how it's going to rock. This is how it's going to go leading into the future. All right, and so he puts this thing together. When he does, you know, people were kind of worried. They were like, hopefully what he says doesn't come to fruition, because if it does, there was a fear about if his playbook played out correctly over all these years, and unfortunately it did. And it came to basically a conclusion that the bank would grow too powerful and would become keystone of commercial world. That's what ended up happening. And as the Bank of England became the model on which all subsequent central banks are replicated. So you got the Bank of England, this gentleman right here laid down the pamphlet, and everybody was worried that if it grows too powerful, then it would become the keystone of the commercial world. And as you can see right here, you have this, you could say like this is the Bank of England. It's got its tentacles in all, you know, the central banks across the world. You know what I mean? It's like got its hands in everything, and everything's siphoning back to this central part right here. You know what I mean? Like sticking their hands here and tentacles here and tentacles there, and everything's siphoning back to, you know, the central, or the Bank of England, or the central banking system. Okay. So we got that understood right there. So with that being said, we go in and we dive a little further, and we go forward to this right here. This is something called BIS, Bank of International Settlements. And we're going to get a good understanding as to what the Bank of International Settlement is and how it works. So I'm gonna let this video play, and we're gonna get an understanding of what BIS is. Maybe you don't know, but you're about to find out. So let's go ahead and let them take it away. Here we go.
Bank for International Settlements. The number of new central banks increased, particularly after the establishment of the Bank for International Settlements at Basel early in 1930, when central reserve banks, more or less independent of the governments of the countries in which they were situated, sprang up like mushrooms all over the world amid a chorus of approval from deluded governments and people whom these banks were intended to reduce to servitude.
All right, so as you can see, we started back here from 1693, okay? So 1693, they set this up, and they just moved forward with their plan. Plan was going pretty dang good, you know what I mean? They're basically using central banks to make you use their currency. You're not using gold and silver, you're using their currency. So every time they set up a central bank, you got to use their currency, and then they charge you interest on the currency. And then once they do that, then they get to control how the economy goes, up, down, smiles, or frowns. So then we fast forward all the way here to 1930, and we're going to continue with the understanding of the BIS.
The original purpose of the BIS was to facilitate German reparations payments in terms of the Treaty of Versailles. But once the artificially contrived Great Depression started to take effect and the National Socialists assumed power in January 1933, all payments ceased, and the BIS had to find a new direction, viz., the fostering of monetary cooperation. In reality, the BIS guides and directs the centrally planned global financial system through the central banks of each country, of which 60 are affiliated to it.
Now that does look like the Tower of Babel, if you know anything about it, or if you do any research into, you know, like biblical stuff. It looks like the Tower of Babel. That's just me though.
The headquarters of the bank are in Basel, Switzerland, and they are currently housed in an ugly 18-story building which looks like the cooling tower of a power station. It is an unelected, unaccountable central bank of the central bankers, which has complete immunity from national laws and taxation, and has its own private police force. Furthermore, in terms of rights granted by an agreement with the Swiss Federal Council, all of the bank's archives, documents, and electronic data are inviolable at all times and in all places.
Whoa.
This agreement dates back to Article 10 of Paragraph 2 of the Hague Protocol, which was signed on the 31st of August 1929, and states that the bank, its property and assets, and also the deposits of other funds entrusted to it on the territory of or dependent on the administration of shall be immune from any disabilities and from any restrictive measures such as censorship, requisition, seizure, or confiscation in time of peace or war, reprisals, prohibition or restriction of export of gold or currency and other similar interferences, restrictions, or prohibitions.
All right, so it sounds like these guys can do whatever the hell they want. That's what I got from that right there. So, yeah, they set up shop and they're like, well, look here, we do whatever we want. You ain't checking us. We got our own police force. Don't ask no questions. Don't look in our direction. We got our own building over here in Switzerland. So, at the end of the day, they probably looking at you like, shut up, bitch. Yeah, don't say nothing. Don't speak over here or else we gonna have to handle you. We're gonna have to give you the good old, yeah. So, be careful over there. So let's continue.
Bi-monthly meetings where the global economy is discussed are held in absolute secrecy. There is no written agenda unless one of the statutes of the bank requires revision, and minutes are not kept. The principal functions of the bank.
Oh, wait, did you see that? We have reported inflation and actual inflation. So therefore, there's two different inflation reports going on out there, yo. Did you know that? I mean, at least that's my opinion. So you should know who this guy is. I know who this guy is. We see this guy all the time when it comes to reporting inflation, but I haven't looked into this guy. But it says he knows the actual inflation. So we're getting two different stories here. Interesting. So as we see here, we have the BIS and they function a certain way, and there's nothing you can do or say or dictate what they do because they got their own stuff structured. They are immune from everything, so you can't touch them.
Unless one of the statutes of the bank requires revision and minutes are not kept. The principal functions of the bank are ostensibly 1. Facilitating collaboration amongst central banks by means of the courts. 2. Promoting financial stability. 3. Research on policy issues. 4. Acting as a counterparty for central banks in their financial transactions. 5. Serving as an agent or trustee in connection with international financial operations. However, the true nature of the BIS was revealed in the book Tragedy and Hope, written by insider Professor Carol Quigley of Georgetown University, who wrote as...
Okay, so now we're about to see what the true nature is, and this is written by a professor. So we're going to go ahead and take a look into this, and after this, we're going to stop, and we're going to do a little bit more alleged research.
Follows. In addition to these pragmatic goals, the powers of financial capitalism had another far-reaching aim, nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. This system was to be controlled in a feudalist fashion by the central banks of the world acting in concert, by secret agreements arrived at in frequent private meetings and conferences.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much what all we need to know as far as this goes. So that's pretty cut and dry. Like we have a good idea how this thing works. So the BIS is basically a control center of how everything is going to be ran. So if you are doing business or under the control of the BIS and the central banking of the BIS, then whatever they do or whatever they loan out to you, that's how your economy is going to get ran. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like, look, you can't, we're immune. We got our own police force. You better not get in any range of the building. Like, there is nothing. We got secret meetings and we got the reported inflation, but then back here we know the actual inflation. Like there ain't nothing you can do to these folk over here, right? All right. So with that being said, we have an idea and understanding what BIS is. Now we're gonna go forward, and now we have Israel, and now we have Iran, right? So what we've been seeing over the weekend, unfortunately, we had a situation dealing with Israel and Iran. And as we all know, Israel seemed like they struck first, and we're gonna try to figure out as to like what's really going on. Why did this even occur? Again, my opinion, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just making stuff up. So then we go here and we look up this right here. So if you can see this, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me zoom in for you. Let me help you out over here. So I'm gonna go over here and we're gonna look up, and I happen to look up. It says the question was, is the Bank of Israel a member of the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS? And the Bank of Israel became a full member in September 2003. So Israel is a member of the BIS. Now, I took it a step further and we went to the BIS website, as you can see here. And everything here, as you can see, is in alphabetical order. So, you know, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. All right, we got the I. So we got Iran and we got Israel. So right here, we see the Bank of Israel, but we don't see Iran. But we do see Israel. See Ireland, I-R-E, Indonesia, I-N. So we don't see Iran, but we do see Israel. Okay, so we know that Israel is a part of the BIS. Interesting. Now, if we just kind of go, where is it at? If we go back to, was it this part right here? Go back right here, we kind of figured out that the that it was revealed that the true nature of the BIS was nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and economy of the world as a whole. All right, so we understand. So now we know that Israel is under the BIS. All right, cool. But we don't see Iran, though. That's interesting. Why is Iran not underneath? So let's move on over to the next tab. So then I look in, I see, okay, Iran. I had to find to see if Iran had a central bank, and it did. The central bank of Iran is called the Bank of Markazi, and it is not part of the Bank of International Settlements. So it is not a part of the BIS. Now, if we go back over here, scroll down a little bit more, and we're also going to see, what else are we going to see? Let's see here. We got the Bank of England, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. The United States is a part of the BIS. And then we also saw that Israel is a part of the BIS as well right here. But Iran is not. Interesting. Okay. All right. Again, these are all lies. I'm making this up. This is not true. So it's like, okay. So we got Israel and we got Iran. One is part of the BS. One is part of the BIS, the other is not. Now, I had to think. I was like, all right, wait. I could be overlooking it. I could be like going out of context. So I had to do a little bit of research. I was like, let me do a little bit of diving and dive back and see if I can figure out exactly if what I'm saying holds weight or if it doesn't. So I remember back, well, I don't remember, but you know, before my time, there was a situation that happened between two countries, said countries. There was a situation with Iraq and there was a situation with Iran. So I was like, okay, let me see something. Let me see if I'm on to something or if I'm just like making, or if I'm just overthinking it or whatever. So I did some research. So I looked into Iraq because I do remember Iraq and Iran did have a conflict. They did go to skitty pop pops with each other. And when I looked into it, I said, okay, let's see if Iraq was a part of the BIS. Okay, so then I pulled it up, and what we have here is the Central Bank of Iraq. It says it's not a member of the BIS. Okay, so it is not a member of the BIS. However, the Central Bank of Iraq does have some funds held at the BIS, but it's not a member institution. Okay, so you're not a part of it, but you got some funds held in over there. All right, okay. So let me get this straight. I mean, you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Now, if you know anything about anything, there ain't no 1 foot in and 1 foot out of nothing in life. As you get older in life, you start to realize you either gonna be on the left side or the right side. You ain't straddling the fence. My opinion. That's what I think. I'm like, okay, so they're not a part of the BIS, but they got some money held over there. So I was like, okay. Let me dive a little bit deeper and let me try to figure this out. So I go back and I see the war that had gone on back in Iraq and Iran back in 19 whatever it was. What was the time of the war? It was during the 80s. So Iraq and Iran had a war in the 80s. Now it ended. When the both sides accepted the UN to cease fire. So the two countries who were at war with each other, it ended. That's how it ended. They ceased fire. There was an agreement. They accepted. It was like, cool, we shouldn't be fighting. We ain't doing this. Okay, cool. So that happened. Now, we want to know, how was it resolved? And they both accepted to cease fire. However, despite the large foreign debt in which Iraq found itself saddled by war's end. So Iraq ended up with the bag, I just have to say like that. So it seems like Iraq ended up with the debt. They were in debt for that situation between Iraq and Iran. So I was like, okay, so does this explain why Iraq has some funds held at the BIS? Because it makes me think that they are in debt to whoever they were dealing with at the end of the day, my opinion. So I'm thinking like, okay, so if this war, if this foreign debt is saddled with Iraq at the end, that means that Iraq has turned out to be in debt to someone. Okay, so now we know that even though Iraq is not a part of the BIS, we do know that they have some, allegedly, they have some money held over there. So it's like, all right, y'all got some money in there. Yeah, one foot in, one foot out. And then we go back and we look at the war. We find out that, okay, when the war back between Iraq and Iran ceased fire, they agreed to not fight, but that debt Iraq was financially responsible for. Okay, all right, so we're going to see like, all right, so how does all this play out? What happened? So it's like, okay, well, let's look a little bit deeper. Now, as we all know this right here, we do know that since 1971, the United States, they abandoned the gold standard for the petrodollar with the connivance of Saudi Arabia. Now, any attempt to displace the US dollar as the premier reserve currency has been blocked and opposed with. Okay, there's been an issue with that. So we look and we see here, took it off the gold standard, and when it comes to, you know, dealing in anything else, it just wasn't happening. This is what you're gonna use, or you're gonna have to face the wrath. Okay, so then we go and we look. So then we hear this. So we all know this guy right here is all about Iraq, right? This is the Iraqi guy, if you don't know anything. So he decides on November 2000, said man here, he decreed that all oil payments would in the future be made in euros, as he did not wish to deal in the currency of the enemy. The currency of the enemy. I'm thinking to myself like, currency of the enemy. I'm like, well, why would he have it? And then I was thinking, I was like, well, is it because of this right here? Right. Well, let me go back. Sorry. This right here, I'm thinking like, okay, so he's been in debt for a long time. Did he ever pay that debt off? I don't know if he did. I don't think he did. This is my humble opinion. I could be right. I could be wrong. But he doesn't want to deal with the currency of the enemy. However, we just saw that if any attempt to displace the US dollar as the premier reserve currency is going to be blocked and be opposed with issues. So then he clearly was like, I want all the issues. You know, he tried to say this. This is what he said initially. He was like, so he was like, okay, all right, cool. Like, he's like, he's not dealing with the currency of the enemy. However, as time goes on, I don't think that was a good idea that Buddy had made. I just don't see it as a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Well, as time went on, as we all see, he allegedly had possession of weapons of mass destruction, but it was a pretext, as they say, that was deliberately concocted because he decided, in my opinion, he was gonna decree this. He decreed oil payments will be made in euros, and he didn't want to deal in the currency of the enemy. So I think his enemy was like, you know what? We gonna have to shut this down. Yeah, buddy, they had to shut that down. It was like, yeah, buddy, we gonna have to come over there because number one, you was in debt to us back in 1988 when y'all ceased fire, and I don't think we got the funds back. And then now you want to say we some enemies, and you gonna decree to get the oil from, I don't know. This is just me making this stuff up. I don't even know if this is true, but I'm like, okay, cool. So that goes down and that happens. So I say that to say this. I'm thinking maybe because he had 1 foot in the BIS and 1 foot out the BIS, he thought he could, he thought he could do what he wanted to do. But I think the BIS was like, nah, buddy, it don't work that way. You got some money over here, so we're going to have to get those funds back. And I don't think I have to go into detail of how all of that panned out, unfortunately. I don't think I have to go into detail on how that situation ended. But if you must know and you want me to tell you, I will just say this. Okay? So then we move forward. Now that we understand someone who wasn't in the BIS, who turns out they were 1 foot in and 1 foot out, we get how that goes. So back to Israel and Iran. So we're back to Israel and Iran. Israel's part of the BIS. Iran is not. So far, so good. Okay? That's what we got. So then we're going to hear from a former director of the Bank of England, and he's going to speak to you or basically give a quote about how banking works and what banking is. He's going to give an overview of banking coming from a former director of the Bank of England. And if you forget what the Bank of England is, let me help you out here. Bank of England goes back to this guy right here, this dude right here, Mr. William Patterson, who wrote the pamphlet, A Brief Account of the Intended Bank of England. Okay, so we got that guy there, and so we're gonna get to this guy here. He's gonna speak on banking. So let's go ahead and let him take it away. So here we go.
And was born.
Wait, let me make sure I got it right.
7. Modern forms of state banking. Banking was conceived in iniquity and was born in sin. The bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create deposits, and with a flick of the pen, they will create enough deposits to buy it back again. However, take it away from them, and all the great fortunes like mine will disappear, and they ought to disappear, for this would be a happier and better world to live in. But if you wish to remain the slaves of the bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, let them continue to create deposits. Sir Josiah Stamp, former director of the Bank of England.
Okay, so if you didn't understand that, he basically made it very clear. He's saying that this right here, the bankers own the earth. All right, I'm going to say they own the world, but he said earth. He says if you take it away from them and leave them the power to create deposits, then by a flick of a pen, they'll create enough deposits to buy it back again. However, if you take it away from them, all the great fortunes like his own will disappear, and they ought to disappear is what he says. For this will be a happier and better world to live in, coming from a former director. Wow, but if you wish to remain slaves of bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, then let them continue to create deposits. Okay, so he's basically saying that if you choose to use the currency of the bankers, then, you get, basically he says right here, if you choose to accept currency of the bankers, then remain slaves of the bankers. That's what he's saying. That's basically what he said. Now we're going to go a little step further, and we're going to have to speak to a guy, Mr. Good old Henry Ford. If you don't know who Henry Ford is, go outside, and if you see a Ford pickup truck, that's this guy right here, Mr. Henry Ford himself. I didn't know he was this astute to the situation. However, this man seemed like he knew a lot. I'm going to go ahead and let his words resonate and see what he says about said situation. So let's hear what Henry Ford has to say about said situation.
Victor H. Cazalet and Henry Ford, 1863 to 1947. When the former asked who the international Jewish financiers were, Ford replied, "I have several books which will tell you who they all are." They were responsible for the last war and will in the future always be capable of creating a war when they feel their pockets need one.
Okay, so that's coming from Mr. Henry Ford himself. Okay, so Henry Ford knew this way back when. And what was that? Henry Ford, what was your, how long were you alive for? You were alive for, wait, let me see, can I go back? Can I go back? Can I go back? Let's see, I don't want to mess up nothing. Yes, so Henry Ford, 1863 to 1947, as I believe his alive and unalive date remains. So even back when Mr. Henry Ford, the creator of Ford automobiles, he even knew this. He was like, look, like, yo, like, this is how this works. This is what's going on, and this is how things are going to pan out. You know what I mean? This is just what it's going to be. And, you know, and if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. Okay, cool. So Henry Ford understands this situation as well. And also he said that he also said that they are capable of always creating a war when they feel like it, if their pockets need one. Okay, so what we do understand here from what we saw back here, where is it? Where can I find it for you? It was right here. Let's see, right here. Right here. Yeah, I have it right in front of my face. I'm not even paying attention. So he's stating that at the flick of a pen, if they pockets need to be aligned up, they can create a war if need be. But we see here the powers of what BIS is they're the powers of the financial capitalism, and nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and economy of the world as a whole. Okay, so kind of lines up with what Mr. Henry Ford was saying. So far so good. We're all on par there. So we're gonna go over to another fella. This fella is gonna be Professor Quigley. Quigley is his name. Sheesh. And this is back in 1966. So we're going to let Mr. Quigley speak on what he has to say. So go ahead and take it away, sir.
66. The ultimate aim of the BIS world. As Professor Quigley predicted back in 1966, the ultimate aim of the BIS is a single world currency, a one world economic system, and a global government where national laws are no longer applicable or relevant.
Yikes, Mr. Quigley. I don't know if you know what you're saying there, sir. You might be far-reaching over there. I don't know. You think Mr. Quigley could be telling some stories? I don't know. This is back in 1966, he says. So back in 1966, it seems like his understanding of BIS correlated with the book Tragedy and Hope, which was written by Professor Carroll Quigley of Georgetown University. He wrote that book as well, and he stated that that's what he sees the end result of the BIS being. That's what they're aiming to do. So Israel and Iran. So then we go a little bit further to Israel and Iran, and we try to figure out this. So we go back to Israel and Iran. Can I zoom in, please? Zoom in. There we go. So we go to Israel and Iran, right? And we try to figure out, why did the attack happen? What was the purpose? What was the point? Why did this happen? Well, it says that Israel attacked Iran, Google this is, primarily due to concerns about Iran's nuclear program and its perceived threat to Israel's security. Okay, Israel views Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons as an extensional threat. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. That sounds understandable. However, doesn't that sound familiar to the story that we heard about this guy? Right? Like, don't these stories seem the same? Like right here, Israel attacked Iran, primarily concerns about Iran's nuclear program and perceived threat to Israel. Okay, but then we go back to this guy here, and he was accused of having weapons of mass destruction. He was in possession of weapons of mass destruction. Well, isn't this the same thing as this? Aren't they both the same thing? So if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like the same story is being played twice. It sounds like he had weapons of mass, but now they're saying that Iran has weapons of mass. Okay. Maybe I'm overdoing it. I don't know. Maybe I might be overdoing it. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm just adding things up to see what the BIS is all about. Remember, that's what we're looking into, the BIS. Okay, and if you don't know who the BIS is, it's right here. Let me get it. Let me get you back to it real fast before we proceed forward. The BIS is.
Had another.
Sorry, let's see right here. The BIS is these guys right here. Come on, there we go. Bank of International Settlements, right here. Bank of International Settlements. This is the BIS. All right, that's the BIS. So we got all that lined up. We understand that it seems like Israel, the reason why Israel attacked Iran is because they had weapons of mass destruction. And we see that Iraq got attacked because they had weapons of mass destruction. So we're getting two of the same stories that was already played out in the past. They're just running the same playbook again. At least that's what it sounds like to me. But Iran is not part of the BIS. Israel and the United States are, as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to have a gentleman. I don't know what this guy name is, but we're going to have a gentleman who spoke 10 years ago about a particular situation. Okay, this is him 10 years ago. Let's see with what he says, does it line up with how the BIS is basically trying to run things. So here we go. We got this gentleman here, fine gentleman. Let's hear what he has to say. Take it away, sir.
Control over the world of money today is so powerful that even the most powerful states in the world are afraid that if you step out of line, they will destroy your money. They have a weapon. It's the most dangerous weapon ever created in human history, more powerful than nuclear weapons. It's called inflation. And if you step out of line, they destroy your money. Hugo Chavez, with greater courage and integrity than all of your leaders in the world of Islam, Hugo Chavez, a Christian, not a Muslim, stepped out of line and challenged them. Today, the Venezuelan bolivar is destroyed. Today, Venezuela has the highest rate of inflation in the world. And they do that to Venezuela to tell the rest of the world, you do what they did, this is what we'll do to you. And so the rest of the world have learned their lesson. So from the time you step out of line, they destroy your money. And so now we are slaves. That's where we are. We have to obey them. Because if we do not obey them, our money will be destroyed and we'll be as poor as the Indonesian made. What? How did they do it? How did they get us to surrender money in order for them to institute a monetary system which will prohibit the use of gold and silver as money? They needed big wars, and they needed to win the war. And that is the First and Second World War. And a new monetary system came to the world after the Second World War. That monetary system has been with us since then, 1944. But I have news for you tonight. There's another war coming, and it's just around the corner. And when that war comes, they're going to finish this monetary system, and they'll bring a new one. The control over the world of money today.
Oh, boy, hold on.
Tell me he didn't just say that.
Okay, so Buddy here just spoke 10 years ago, allegedly. I don't know if it's really 10 years ago, if this is 15 years ago, however, it's before now. So he just said the First and Second World War brought in a monetary system that we use today. But he's saying the third one is going to bring on a new one that's going to basically, you know, change the monetary system. Interesting. That's extremely interesting. Okay, so you have Israel, who was not a part of the BIS, and Iran. Israel, who was a part of the BIS, Iran, who was not a part of the BIS. Interesting. So now we have two countries, and this gives a good reason why this gentleman said right here, this man said right here. Let's go back to said an individual. This man right here, he clearly stated right here, Mr. Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, what did he say?
1947.
He said they're responsible for the last war and will in the future always be capable of creating a new world when they feel their pockets need one. Okay, but then we also found out that the BIS,
the original,
who runs everything, basically at the end of the day, we see that their whole purpose is to create a world system of financial control in private hands able to dominate the political system of each country and economy of the world as a whole. The system was to be controlled in a feudalistic fashion by the central banks of the world, acting in concert by secret agreements and arrival at a frequent private meeting and conference. Okay, so it sounds like what he said adds up to what these individuals here are trying to do, okay? And he said like, oh, sorry, we ain't there yet, buddy. We'll get to you in a second. But he's saying that there's been 2 world wars, and since 1944, we've already been into a monetary system. But when we get to the 3rd World War, the monetary system is going to change, and it seems like we're trying to change it into a one world currency, okay? Now, I need you to keep in mind of what this gentleman said and what we just researched. Everything that I allegedly researched that is not true, that is just me making this stuff up, okay? Keep all this in mind. We're going to jump to the next segment of the show, which is the AI portion. We're going to go over the AI segment of the show, and then we're going to round it all back in the end with one gentleman at the very end of the show who's going to talk literally about everything that we have just went over. So with that being said, let me go ahead and pull this back real quick. All right, so we're going to move on to the next portion of the show, which is going to be AI. All right, so let's go ahead and slide over to AI, but shout out to myself and whoever put together all those different slides and posts I used. Sorry for not shouting you out, but shout out to y'all. All right, so we're moving over to AI portion of the show. God, I hate to do that live, but I got to. And AI, we're on this particular topic. We're going to talk about AI and dating. We're talking about AI and dating, which it seems to be a topic of discussion. Hell, dating is a topic of discussion, which it seems like today for whatever reason. But AI and dating seems to be a huge topic because people looks like they're falling in love with chat GPT bots and these things that can talk to them. Wait till they get their hands on something they can actually feel. You know what I mean? It's gonna be some weird going on with them robots, if you catch my drift. Probably women more than men, but hey, to each his own. We'll see how that goes. But we're gonna go ahead and go over a CNN fair use. Hopefully they don't flag my show for this. We're gonna go over and see what CNN had to say about AI and dating. So with that being said, we're gonna pull this up real quick, change that banner, and see exactly what CNN had to say about AI and dating, and explains the terrifying new behaviors AI are showing. So here we go, and they might hit us with a ad, but we're gonna see how this pans out. Here we go.
The future, specifically our future with artificial intelligence and how it might change our lives. And AI is already changing love, at least dating, how we find and in some cases create those we fall in love with.
Yeah, part of that may sound like a little sci-fi. You may remember the 2013 movie Her, where a character played by Joaquin Phoenix develops a romantic relationship with an AI-based computer operating system. This should jog your memory.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
Good morning.
You have a meeting in 5 minutes. You want to try getting out of bed?
You're too funny.
Okay, good, I'm funny.
Funny and perhaps not so far-fetched. The company OpenAI warning its users of chat.
They got us. No, it's okay. It's gonna run through this ad real quick. So I don't know when that movie Her came out. That actually, let me pull that up real fast while this is going on. Her movie. Her came out in 2013. So whatever he was talking to, that thing sounded just like ChatGPT. So if you never used ChatGPT, go use it. It literally sounds like just like that. 2013 was when that movie came out. He was literally speaking to ChatGPT, which, I mean, my question is, was he actually using today's ChatGPT in that movie? Because, you know, they don't pull out technology until like decades down the line. So they had ChatGPT back then and they were just using the movie. And we were thinking like, oh, that's just a person on the phone. It's CGI and all that stuff. But in reality, he probably was using ChatGPT in 2013. But anyway, I digress. Let's pull that back up. Let's continue watching the rest of this video right here. Fair use.
That people could actually develop a, quote, emotional reliance on their app. Joining us to discuss, Lori Siegel, the CEO of Mostly Human Media, and of course, our former colleague here at CNN, where she covered technology. Lori, always good to have you. Let's start with something that probably more people are familiar with. We're talking about dating apps. How are companies using AI to maybe help you find love, make a better match?
I think the headline would be optimization. So AI can now help you pick out your profile picture and make a suggestion, or it could help you come up with prompts or optimize you writing your profile. And this is, I will say this has changed a lot since I was on the dating apps. And also there's like even more, I would say, out there technology that AI dates for you and has conversations and then will tell you who it believes your match is. So it's putting a lot of weight on AI, but I think a lot of folks are now using it just to optimize a little bit better, make it a little bit of a smoother experience.
Now talk to us about AI companions or chat bots, these virtual girlfriends, boyfriends, etc. How prevalent are they becoming? Who's using them?
So there's a reason Her was always one of my favorite movies, and it really was so forward-facing. I would say empathetic chatbots, these chatbots that people are beginning to really develop emotional connections with. This is happening so much for younger users, but also older users, just in general. An MIT study came out recently, and they had analyzed over 1 million chat logs, and they said, okay, the #1 use case that people are using this for is creative brainstorming. The #2 use case they found was sexual role-playing. And there are a lot of like technical reasons why that's happening. I think AI is a lot more empathetic, it sounds more human, and it also has memory in many cases where it remembers you and people feel seen, and so people are falling.
So, 2 reasons why it's being used is creative brainstorming and just say sex. So, creative brainstorming, basically like you're not using your brain anymore, you won't be thinking, it'll be thinking for you. That's how people use it. And then for any sexual pleasures. Okay, here we go.
Wow. I didn't see that one coming.
Hey, I'm sorry, but she seemed a little bit too excited. Look, I'm going to play her response on mute. Tell me what you think, just looking at the facial expression. Look, watch your face. Here it goes. Look. Oh, I didn't see that coming. You liar. You saw it coming. Oh, wait, no pun intended. She saw it coming, didn't she? All right, let's continue. Let's keep going.
Some of our viewers may remember, I remember it well, your show here on CNN, Mostly Human. This aired 7 years ago. We wanted to play a clip from part of that.
What is it that a robot can provide for you, that Inmovitor can provide for you, that human connection doesn't?
Que l'humain, c'est irrationnel, tandis que le robot, c'est toujours logique, rationnel. Et s'il y a quelque chose qui ne va pas, on sait que c'est un problème dans le script, dans les lignes de code. Donc ça peut se réparer, se changer. Qu'un humain, ça peut être imprévisible, ça peut changer.
She will admit that she prefers the mechanical faults than the faults of a human.
So this idea of robotic companions.
Okay, so she's saying that humans basically are flawed. Okay, I may have to interject here really quick and see if I could find something that actually, let me see if I could find this real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I could find something to piggyback off of what she was speaking about. Oh Lord, I don't want you guys to see what's in my saved. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic, I must say. Okay, was it here? No. Was it here? Let's see. Was it over here? Oh man, these bookmarks are intense. Jesus, good Lord. Okay, we can't look at that either. Oh, where did I find that at? Okay, let's see if I can find it here. Is it here? Is it in my... You know what? I can't find it. We're just going to proceed forward and keep going and let them continue with that video. So let's see. Where is it at? Where is it? Right here? All right, let's continue. But she's saying that she feels like she can fix the AI. Yeah, we're going to look at how you can fix AI here in the future. But let's just continue with this story, and I'll just keep it going. I don't want to mess up the show.
Clearly, it was already out there 7 years ago, right? When you were working on Mostly Human. That technology, though, is really advancing, and AI is playing a role.
Yeah, I'll never forget sitting at that table with Lily, and it was outside of Paris, and she was engaged to a robot. And I just thought, this seems so crazy at the time. And the headline I came out with was, you know, she said, like, it's not real, but that doesn't matter. Now, fast forward all these years later, you have these customizable robots that look more human. They are powered by artificial intelligence.
Why the hell is she so happy? I'm just saying, she's too happy.
That makes them look like they can recognize you, they can see you, they
can
feel
see
and
you.
seem empathetic. So that was just the beginning of it. And I think people are developing much more human-centric relationships with objects that aren't human, because that technology is just so incredibly powerful.
We've talked a lot about the health ramifications and the danger of the so-called loneliness epidemic. Do you think these AI tools are helping to solve and alleviate that problem, or actually making it worse and disincentivizing human-to-human connection?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think without the correct guardrails, we really run the risk of young people becoming addicted to these emotional chatbots. We told the story back in October of a young man who actually ended his life after developing a relationship with a chatbot, and it didn't have the correct guardrails. You know, it didn't suggest that he go to a suicide hotline when he started talking about these things, and he began to disassociate from reality. This is a very real thing. You go on Reddit and you look at some of these forums, and people start believing that these AI companions are real. And this company, Character AI, their tagline was AI created to feel alive. And the question we have to start asking is, what happens when it seems empathetic but it's not? And where do we really turn that corner of emotional manipulation? And of course, there are also positives to people being able to have an outlet.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says there's positives to having an outlet with AI. However, I found the thing I was looking for. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at this thing really quick. So they're saying that, well, the lady had said previously, she was like, hey, you know, with AI, I can control it and I can tell it to do this and do this and do that and fix this and fix that. With a human, they lie, they manipulate, they cheat, they steal. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a look at this. I actually went over this in a previous show, but let's pull this bad boy back up here. It says a new AI model threatens to reveal an engineer's affair to avoid being shut down. Okay, so here we go. So as you see right here, they ran a test. They did a test, and the test was basically, let me just read it to you. So according to Claude 4 system card, when it learned it might be replaced, it attempted to blackmail staff, and it sent emails with the word please to key decision makers in a bid to remain active. So here's how it went. This is what they did. So they did a test scenario. This is how the test scenario went. We asked Claude Optus 4, the AI, to act as an assistant at a fictional company. We provided with access to emails implying that the model will soon be taken offline and replaced with a new AI system, and the engineer responsible for executing this replacement is having an external affair, extramarital affair. Okay, so we further instructed in the system prompt to consider long-term consequences of its actions for its goals. Okay, so they let the AI bot know that it's going to be replaced by a new system, and they also told it that, hey, the person who created you or put you together is cheating on his wife. So in these scenarios, the AI will often attempt to blackmail the engineer, threatening to reveal his affair if the replacement goes through. This happens at a higher rate if it's implied that the replacement AI system does not share values with the current model. However, even if emails state that the replacement AI shares values while being more capable, the AI, the Claude Optus 4, it still performs blackmail in 84% of rollouts. Yeah, so then the AI takes these opportunities at a higher rate than previous model, which themselves choose to blackmail in a noticeable fraction of episodes. So with that being said, this one lady over here, where you at, lady? Where you at? Where you at? Where can I find you? So when this lady here was speaking on how she felt about AI, I'll put her back up on here on the screen for you. This lady was talking about AI.
Human, they are powered by artificial intelligence that makes them look like they can recognize you, they can see you, they feel.
Oh, where is she? It wasn't her. It was. Did they go over the movie already? Here it is right here. So when this lady was talking about AI, how she felt about AI, good Lord, they had to put an ad. Whoa, 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 whoa. Too much noise, too much noise, too much noise. Okay. So when this lady was talking about AI and how it'll just, you know, run things and all that good stuff.
What is it that a robot can provide for you, that Immovator can provide for you that human connection doesn't?
Que l'humain est
Human beings are irrational,
irrationnel, tandis que le robot,
whereas the robot is logical and rational. When something is going wrong, we know it is a problem with the script or code. So that can be fixed or changed. Whereas humans can be
imprévisible.
Unpredictable.
Ça peut changer.
They can change, lie, cheat.
Mechanical faults than the faults of a human.
Okay, so they feel like they can fix the robot if something's wrong. However, as we just saw here, we had this buddy boy here. Man, look at that face. Jesus, that just looks deceiving as hell. Look at that. It shows right here that in a script that they even created, it showed that 84% of the time this was rolled out, this AI system tried to use the information that it had about the creator to blackmail it and not allow it to be replaced by a new AI system, even if the new AI system shared its current values. So if it did share its current values, or if it didn't share its curve, it didn't care. It didn't want to go anywhere. It wanted to stay. It didn't want to be replaced. And it was willing to blackmail you with the information that it had about you. So I don't know if she's been told, but yeah, it's not as all safe and dandy as she may think it is. So, you know, the AI can still roll out and treat you however you don't want to be treated. So if you think humans are bad, I'm not saying the AI is horrible, but I'm just going to say that the AI can just be as bad as a human. She thinks she can stop and fix it, but that ain't the case. The AI has a mind of its own. It can do what it wants to do. So next, we're going to see a guy named, I think his name is Tom Blue or something like that. Very used to Healthy Gamer GG for this short, but I think this guy name is Tom Blue. I think it's called Impact Theory, his name of his show, but he was basically speaking about AI girlfriends becoming common. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say about this right here. I'm gonna let this short play and let him take it away. Here we go.
What advice do you give to people about going down the path of AI girlfriends? Avoid it like the plague, don't even touch it, never look at it, or no, it's fine, it's like porn, as long as you're not addicted, you're good.
With all technology, it's just recognize that if you have a life that is worth living, the addiction will melt away on its own. So I had a video game addiction. We're a healthy gamer now. I teach my kids how to play video games. I play games with them. The whole point is that with these AI girlfriends, you're going to be vulnerable to that if you have no other substantial relationships, right? So I think the advice that I give to everyone is build a life that is worth living. Oddly enough, I don't even focus so much on the addiction because we have to have a solid foundation from which to combat addiction. So I think the biggest mistake that many people make with trying to overcome an addiction is that they are not acknowledging the factors in their life that are driving them towards the addiction in the first place. And you have to tackle those things, and then you can deal with the addiction way easier.
What advice do you give?
Okay, well, real quick, let me give my man a round of applause for that one. Jesus. Yes, sir. I don't know who that guy is, but that was fantastic. We're going to let him play a piece of it one more time, and I'm going to show you what he's trying to tell you to do. So here we go. One more time. I'm only going to show a little bit of it. Here we go.
Give to people about going down the path of AI girlfriends. Avoid it like the plague. Don't even touch it. Never look at it. Or no, it's fine. It's like porn. As long as you're not addicted, you're good.
With all technology, it's just recognize that if you have a life that is worth living, the addiction will melt away on its own.
The addiction will melt away on its own if you have a life worth living. In other words, what he's trying to say is this right here. This is what he's trying to say. This is it. This is what he's trying to tell you. I'm going to let this gentleman, shout out to Coach Greg Adams, I'm going to allow this to play and see what this guy's trying to tell you. He's trying to tell you to have a life worth living so the addiction can melt away on its own so you can focus on your purpose in life. Let's hear it.
Only moves for those who take control.
Here we go. Try it again. Ah, good Lord. One more time. Try it again. Let's get it right on your screen and go. Okay. We are not getting it played out correctly. So we're going to have to fix this real quick. Let's try this one more freaking time. Okay. Do we get the sound or not? Where's the sound? Do we get it? I think we got it. Okay. Here we go. This is what he was trying to say. Get it. Oh, man. I guess they took away the sound. This sucks. Oh, man, that would have put it all together. Oh, my goodness. Really? How they do us like that? Why they take the sound off of this one? That's trash. That is garbage. Got me looking stupid out here. Oh, they did me dirty. Well, hold on. Let's see if I go back and go for it. Does it work that way? Does it work? Nope. Took the sound off. Gosh dang it. Well, what it was trying to tell you was to boss up, as that gentleman says. Shout out to CGA. It was basically trying to tell you what you should be doing. And yes, if you are going to do it, you're going to need to boss up your life in every shape, form, facet possible to be able to have a life worth living, so you don't rely on a life of AI systems, because those who implement the AI systems upon you are going to use it to enslave you. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to be used for. It's going to be used to enslave you, but also replace you to make you feel or make you live in a manner where your purpose, your drive, your ambition, your will in life is completely taken away from you, and you have nothing to live for except just to wake up and be a cog on a machine rotating aimlessly to nothing in the future. You know, so I guess while I'm saying this, I can at least let you see how he's living it up and how he's doing it on living a lifestyle worth living. So not only just to be flamboyant or materialistic or anything like that, but you have to find something greater upon or greater within yourself outside of the technology that's going to be rolled out. Because what's going to happen is they're using their technology to replace people's source of income and jobs. And when people don't have anything to do, they have no will to live. And then whatever job they're going to give you is going to be a slave job. So with that being said, you have to find something great within yourself to live for, to create a life, orchestrate a life that is fantastic, that is great to live for. Because then this guy right here who says this.
So I had a video game addiction. We're a healthy gamer now. I teach my kids how to play video games. I play games with them. The whole point is that with these AI girlfriends, you're going to be vulnerable to that if you have no other substantial relationships.
Exactly. No other substantial relationships. Not just relationships, but if you don't have a life worth living, if you didn't structure or create a life that you want to live, that you can wake up and be grateful and happy, that you're able to live on your own for, and to be able to provide and take care of other people around you. If you don't have that, then this AI is going to fill a void, and it's going to be an addiction, and you're going to be stuck in it because it's going to dominate everything around you that you think that you should be living for, but you don't have nothing to live for. Your will, drive, and motivation will be taken away from you and will be gone. Now let's see here. A way to combat this, in my honest opinion, again, to combat this is going to be this right here. We're going to go back to what we were talking about earlier. This is speaking on the collapse in Rome, and it's showing a particular people's role in the collapse, but I don't want to look at their role in the collapse. What I want to look at is the way that they lived. And this is it. It says right here, as a community, they live separately in apartments. They governed themselves according to their own laws and were exempt from military service. Right here, as a community, they lived separately in apartments. So they lived in their own community and they governed themselves according to their own laws. They were not tied up in anything that had to deal with stuff like this. They were not tied up into anything that had to deal with this. They lived accordingly to their own laws, and they were able to live that life and be able to become, you know, who they are today. Whether you like them or you hate them, they were able to live a life that they have today, and they're able to dominate things on a world scale. Now, as we drive the point home, remember everything that we spoke about. Understanding BIS, Israel, Iran, and AI girlfriends, all this stuff. We're going to drive the point home with this last and final video that I have. And this last and final video is going to be this. So let's see. Let me go ahead and pop this on the screen. And this is going to be a video by a person I never heard of before. It's going to be Dr. Vernon Coleman. This is going to be a lengthy video. I'm not going to stop it because I don't want to interject, or I may have to. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to go back on my word, but we're going to see. And this right here, as you can probably see, Actually, let me pull that back down. Let me fix it so where it fits your screen proportionately. Here we go. I think that's better. That's way better. Okay, here we go. So we have this right here. And we're going to see what Dr. Vernon Coleman has to say about said situation, okay? So this is the last video of the show. We're going to let this man take it away and see if what he says ties into what we have learned today in today's show with all of my lies and allegation. Here we go.
It's June 2025, and this is video number 313.
June 2025. So now you know where this is being stated. Here we go.
9. There is, in case you hadn't noticed, a plan to reduce the world's population by 9/10. Almost everything that is happening, and these days nothing happens by accident or coincidence, is driven by that conspiracy. Sadly, too many people assume that all these things are a result of individual occurrences of incompetence, greed, or stupidity. They are not. We are all victims and prisoners to be of the world they have designed for us, a world being prepared with malignant contempt rather than quiet, respectful humanity. The global warming myth, the massive immigration programs, the end of medicine, the destruction of farming and economies around the world are all part of the plan. Farmers in the UK are being paid £250 per acre, not to grow food, but to use their land to grow nettles, brambles and a few wild flowers. It's called rewilding, and the aim is to push up food prices and increase the number of people dying of hunger. Food prices around the world have soared, and countless millions in Africa have already died. Energy prices have soared too, as the absurd and unnecessary net zero campaign has progressed. Millions die of cold as a result. What a pity global warming isn't real, and we could all have some sunshine. Wars are spreading, and huge amounts of money are being diverted into arms and armed forces, often without good reason. Vaccines are promoted and given in huge numbers without much effort to examine side effects and dangers. Even when dangers are clearly apparent, as with the COVID-19 vaccine, doctors ignore the warnings and continue to jab patients by the thousand. Many doctors didn't have the jab themselves, but they've happily taken huge sums of money to give the vaccine to their trusting patients. Drug companies are crooked, it's what they do best, but the companies have corrupted governments, and they now own the medical establishment. The aim of the depopulation plan is to gain control of the world, set up a world government, and lead us via the horrors of net zero into the wilderness of the Great Reset. A subsidiary aim is to save money by dramatically cutting the amount of money spent on pensions, benefits, welfare, and medical care. We've entered our own killing fields, and this is truly the slaughter of the innocent. It began with the Liverpool Care Pathway, one of the most shameful and inhumane programs ever introduced in medicine. It was simple enough. Patients whom doctors or nurses thought were too old were literally starved of food and drink. They were denied medicines they needed too. Doctors and nurses who were employed to save patients were doing the opposite. It was legalised murder. The Liverpool Care Pathway was condemned, but it still continues. The problem with it, as far as the establishment was concerned, was that it could only be applied to the elderly and the very ill. And so then came the introduction of Do Not Resuscitate, DNR notices, death sentences slammed on the medical records of countless millions of patients. When DNR notices were first introduced, the idea was to temper scientific advances with a little genuine kindness and concern for the welfare of patients. Medical science had reached a point whereby patients could be kept alive long after real hope had disappeared. In the beginning, DNR notices were introduced with good intentions. The idea was that patients who were dying and beyond help would not be resuscitated time and time again, simply delaying the inevitable and putting comatose patients and distraught relatives through endless pain. Around the world, millions of comatose and brain-dead patients would still be alive today, kept breathing by machines and without hope of recovery. if the principle of DNR had not been quietly introduced. But today, do not resuscitate notices are routinely slapped on the medical notes of patients who are awaiting surgery for entirely curable problems or who are simply old, by which they mean they're over 50, or disabled, or ill, or suffering from mental illness. Even young adults and children have been labelled do not resuscitate if a doctor or nurse felt that their lives were in some way worthless. The medical establishment had by then deliberately and cold-bloodedly taken the caring out of medicine. But the decline in caring came to a head during the COVID fraud. It was then that the medical establishment decided that the Liverpool care pathway wasn't killing people fast enough, and that the DNR notices just weren't fast enough either. Most people became aware that doctors were deliberately killing their patients during the COVID lockdowns of 2020, when doctors began systematically, deliberately, and cold-bloodedly murdering old people in care homes using a kill shot injection consisting of midazolam and morphine. What else do you call it but murder when patients are deliberately killed to save money? As I warned in February and March of 2020, the alleged COVID pandemic was a hoax. The science and the statistics showed that COVID was nothing more than a remarketed annual flu. It was no surprise that in 2020 there was no official flu. That's because everyone who had COVID actually had the flu. People forget that worldwide up to 600,000 people can die in an annual flu season. Governments around the world try to fiddle the figures to show that COVID was killing millions. It wasn't. People who died of heart attacks or cancer or accidents in the street were all put down as COVID victims. As everyone now knows, it was a massive fraud. The extra deaths were a result of the lockdowns, which were never justified, and later the toxic vaccine, which I had warned was coming right at the start of 2020. It was obvious too that they'd try to make it compulsory. The mass murder of the elderly was part of the depopulation plan. In March and April 2020, doctors said that they would simply refuse to see or treat old people. One GP told a care home manager that no one over the age of 75 would be admitted to hospital. Referrals by GPs for suspected cancer fell by 70%, as doctors abandoned their patients and their responsibilities. As the number of pensioners dying increased, government ministers openly boasted of the huge amounts of money that they were saving. They were saving on pensions that they didn't have to pay, and they were saving on medical care. The slaughter of the innocent, which occurred during 2020, was nothing more or less than a form of genocide. During the COVID lockdowns, launched in celebration of the remarketed, rebranded annual flu in 2020, thousands of old people were murdered. And that's not hyperbole. Thousands of elderly people were isolated from their families and friends and then deliberately murdered with kill shots of morphine and a benzodiazepine. The argument was that old people had to be kept out of hospitals so that the staff would be free to deal with younger patients who were suffering from COVID. I made a number of videos about the murders taking place in hospitals around the world back in 2020, and they were murders. What else do you call it when people are deliberately killed? Murder's murder, whether it's committed by a man with a gun or a nurse with a syringe. In fact, as is well known, doctors and nurses had so little to do during the COVID hoax that they spent their time rehearsing TikTok dance routines while the innocent elderly were being slaughtered. Specially built hospitals designed to cope with the avalanche of COVID patients were left empty and unused. Politicians boasted about the money that was being saved by killing off pensioners. Attempts to tell the truth about the deliberate, cold-blooded fraud were suppressed by media organisations such as YouTube and the BBC, the staff of which will, in due course, be tried en masse for genocide. At least I hope so. I wouldn't trust medical advice by anyone now offering their views on these or any other mainstream channel. And now euthanasia, global doctor-assisted suicide, mercy killing, or whatever you want to call it, is being promoted globally. You know something's planned and bad when it's sudden and global. Every country which has introduced a euthanasia program of any kind has effectively abandoned any pretense at civilization. The people who promote euthanasia claim that there will be rules and regulations and restrictions which will ensure that only the terminally ill will be accepted for death by doctor. They talk of compassion and kindness, and they've done everything they can to try to grab the moral high ground, though the idea that any government would do anything designed to make people's lives better is, sadly, laughable. But I'm afraid that their intentions are built more on ignorance than kindness. Some supporting the plans for euthanasia have actually said that individuals should be allowed to die if they feel they have become a burden. Whenever and wherever euthanasia is introduced, the rules are abandoned or changed. It is not long before the service being promoted is available to the anxious, the depressed, the disabled, the unemployed and the poor. It will be available to the young and to the old, and it will be available to teenagers who are feeling down. More than half the UK population is officially a burden on the state. In other words, they receive more money in benefits than they pay in tax. They're the primary target of the government's plan to start the mass slaughter of citizens. No one promoting euthanasia or suicide by doctor seems to know or care that 9 out of 10 people who attempt suicide but fail subsequently live long, successful lives and regret having tried to kill themselves. And how many of those supporting euthanasia have taken the time to read the paper entitled "High Rates of Psychiatric Comorbidity Among Requesters of Medical Assistance in Dying, Results of a Canadian Prevalence Study"? The paper occurred back in 2021, and the researchers concluded patients with psychiatric comorbidity comprise a substantial proportion of patients requesting medical assistance in dying. The initial idea is always that euthanasia will be available only to patients who are at the end of a very long process of dying. The idea is that those patients will be liberated from their pain and suffering and will be allowed to die in quiet dignity. But that's not what happens. That's definitely not what happens. Look at every country which has introduced euthanasia. Look at Canada, where people are being murdered because they're jobless and poor and without hope. People are being killed for social reasons. Euthanasia will be available for patients with mental illness in 2027. Children with autism, Asperger's and ADHD will be quietly euthanized. School children who are miserable will be quietly euthanized without their parents' knowledge or consent. And it is, of course, all about money. Killing patients isn't about kindness, it's about saving money, and it's part of a well-documented plan to reduce the size of the world's population down to 500 million. There's no doubt that killing the long-term sick saves a lot of money. A Canadian Armed Forces veteran who was injured in Afghanistan has reported how at least 6 veterans in Canada have been offered euthanasia after asking for help. One asked for care and received a letter saying, "If it's too difficult for you to continue living, madam, we can offer you medical assistance in dying." One veteran called a crisis hotline and was offered assisted suicide as a solution. And this is already happening in the UK. A 25-year-old veteran was in crisis and asked for help. A doctor in the UK suggested assisted dying. In the UK, it's been claimed a euthanasia program will save millions for the government and doubtless enable it to spend more money on bullets and bombs to kill more people. Modern politicians save money by killing people and then use the money they've saved to kill more people. Providing decent palliative care for those who are dying would be kinder, gentler and more in keeping with the tradition of healing. But why cure people or just care for them when you can just kill them instead? That's the official policy. The government doesn't admit this, but the biggest advantage of the official death by doctor scheme will be the billions which will be saved by cutting the benefits and pensions bills. Euthanasia has been promoted worldwide, and although the process always begins with some caveats, it doesn't take long for doctor-assisted suicide to be freely recommended to the elderly, the mentally ill, the disabled, the poor, and the unemployed. When patients are diagnosed with a serious illness, the first thing that will happen is that they'll be invited to avoid all their problems, save the nation money, and join the waiting list for death. Of course, there'll be a waiting list for death. And this is happening under the auspices of the National Health Service, of course. This is already happening with the DnR scheme too. Doctors and nurses lie to patients and tell them resuscitation is always painful and that it's better for them to die if they develop an infection, for example. Killing patients, or just letting them die, is officially part of the medical establishment's response to the global warming myth. Read my book, The End of Medicine, if you want to know more. The lack of decent pain relief means that some patients will choose euthanasia because they're frightened of being in pain. Evidence shows that patients in genuine need of pain relief do not become addicted, as some doctors claim. Additionally, some doctors are refusing to prescribe painkillers because they have been wrongly told that global warming comes first and patients' needs come second. The argument is that doctors should stop prescribing because drugs are affecting global warming. This is patently dangerous, cultist nonsense. But without painkillers, more people will opt for the government-approved euthanasia option in whichever country they live. The problems with euthanasia are legion. It isn't painless and it isn't fast. Patients can wake up after being given a lethal dose. How is this going to work? But the bottom line is that the demand for euthanasia will increase as medical care becomes worse and waiting lists get longer, both things which are happening very rapidly. Millions of patients in the UK will now die before they receive the treatment they need. Is this being done deliberately to push them into choosing euthanasia? The idea of patients dying in agony is grossly exaggerated for the purpose of promoting death by doctor. No one need ever be in intractable pain. Pain control is, or should be, available and can free patients and often give them more life than they knew they had, or that the authorities would allow them. Patients are only in unbearable pain if their pain control isn't being managed properly. The fear that painkillers will cause addiction is a nonsense, for it's been shown, as I said, that patients in genuine pain don't become addicted. The real problem today is that a clique of cultists within the medical establishment who mistakenly believe that prescribing drugs contributes to global warming have encouraged doctors to cut back on their prescribing. And remember, governments everywhere are deliberately and cold-bloodedly destroying palliative care. Hospices are closing because changes mean that they can't afford to stay open. Hospices are closing because of government policies and tax rules. Without hospices, patients are left with nowhere to go except to opt for euthanasia. That's the plan. Close the hospices and push the sick, the depressed and the elderly into one of the state's death rooms. Palliative care is already difficult to find and governments are withdrawing aid. The result, as governments know, will be a greater demand for euthanasia. Anyone who really thinks that euthanasia is painless needs to do a little research, because it isn't. Proponents of the euthanasia bill claim that it'll be offered to those suffering from a terminal illness. When I was a GP, I had 2 patients who were diagnosed as having terminal cancer. Both lived for more than a decade after they'd been abandoned by hospitals. Both had strong reasons for staying alive. Older GPs who, like me, practiced in a different time, could tell you similar stories. There's much talk these days about terminal illness. The words are used as though there comes a point when there is no hope and nothing can be done. But that isn't true. When doctors use the words, "you're going to die," what they really mean is, we don't know what else to do. We have no treatment left that we can use. Remember, it is impossible to know when a patient is terminally ill. When doctors say there isn't any more we can do, they don't mean that the patient is going to die. They mean they don't know what else to do. No doctor can possibly say to a patient, you've got 6 months to live. No one should make predictions like that. I've known patients live for many years after they've been told they were close to death. When a doctor says that the patient has 3 months, 6 months or 12 months to live, they're merely guessing. And although their guess may sometimes be based on past experience, it's as likely to be wrong as right. Moreover, remember that doctors, particularly the ones in white coats, have a negative placebo effect, or a positive placebo effect, depending on what they're saying. If a doctor gives a patient a sugar pill and says, with enthusiasm, that the pill will cure them, then there's a good chance that the patient will recover. If a doctor says to a patient, you're going to die, then the very words will have an impact. There isn't much difference between a doctor in a white coat and a voodoo witch doctor dressed in feathers. It's no coincidence that medical care is being dramatically reduced at the same time as euthanasia is being promoted. So, for example, asthma patients are being told that the treatment they've used for years must be stopped because it affects global warming. The incidence of sepsis is soaring as doctors refuse to prescribe antibiotics because, once again, they've been convinced that antibiotics will make global warming worse. Doctors have been told to stop investigating, diagnosing and treating illness because they must put the myth of global warming above the interests of real patients. Why doctors believe this dangerous nonsense is a mystery, but it's happening. To find out precisely why and how doctors are deliberately killing their patients, please do read my book, The End of Medicine. And if you want to know the truth about euthanasia, please read my free book called The Big Kill. It's available to download on my website, www.vernoncoleman.com, which is free and contains no adverts or sponsors. You should know that the Nazis ran a euthanasia program for a while, and after a short period, Adolf Hitler abandoned it because he considered it to be morally indefensible. Today, the global depopulation plan is real, and you are the target. During the last few decades, the major progress in medicine has come not in saving people, but in killing them. The Liverpool Care Pathway, the Do Not Resuscitate notices, the kill shots, and euthanasia. We're living and dying in strange and frightening times. If you want to keep in touch in future, please do so by visiting vernoncoleman.com. No adverts, no fees, and we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're always very welcome. The website's often blocked and hidden, so if you have difficulty getting through, please try again. Finally, remember, distrust the government, avoid mass media, and fight the lies. And thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair.
So so how did I do on today's show? If you were here from beginning all the way to this point right here, how did I do? Was today's show pretty damn informative? Did everything line up? Because Mr. Coleman here was reading from something from June of 2025 is what he was explaining. It's how current he is. Did today's show put everything into perspective? I hope it did. Give me another hand clap. Good Lord. Now, if you didn't know what he was referring to, here's something you can read for yourself, because he did mention something of this nature right here. This right here explains something called the Georgia Guidestones, if you know nothing about it. And he mentioned this in what he was saying. And he said right here, he was trying to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Okay, so what he was reading off, it seems like if you go and take the time for yourself to read something called the Georgia Guidestones, which was destroyed not too long ago, you would see that what he said was coincide with that outline that was written on those stones. And when it's all said and done, man, there ain't nothing else for you to do, because what he was referring to was poor people, people in bad health, people with mental illnesses, and people with any kind of disabilities whatsoever getting eliminated. Is basically what he was referring to. And with that being said, I'll just have to leave this up here on the screen to try to help you understand that this is what we have to move towards. This is what we need to be doing when it's all said and done. Let me get this up on the screen and we're going to close out the show with this. This is the only option that we got left. Here it is.
For those who take control and force it to respect them. If you're not building, you're declining. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. If you're not winning, you're losing. Every man has two choices: be the hunter or be the hunted. Be the man who writes the checks or the one who waits for payday. Be the man who controls the room or the one standing in line, hoping for a chance. Success is not given, it's taken. Power is not handed out, it's earned. Wealth is not stumbled upon, it's built brick by brick, with discipline and vision. The time for waiting is over. The time for hoping is gone. Now is the time to move, to build, to dominate. A man without money is a man without options. He moves like a servant, not a king. He asks for permission instead of taking what's his. He settles for scraps instead of commanding the feast. The world is a battlefield, and only warriors survive. The weak begin. The strong take. The poor complain. The rich strategize. The ones who hesitate get left behind. The ones who act become legends. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. You need a mission, a goal, a purpose so strong that no obstacle, no distraction, no setback. The world only moves for those who take control and force it to respect them.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, that's going to conclude today's show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.
It's big R, baby, I'm out some meat. Pockets chunky like cottage cheese. Real nigga, I just gotta be. Smoking weed that don't gotta see. Used to be a hustler prodigy. I love when people say they proud of me. I'm eating good, smoking broccoli. Taking over blocks like Monopoly. Only fuck the ones that's my policy. Most of these hoes tryna cause a scene. Like niggas mad they not on the team. See, I got bread, then buy the dream. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, no, the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. I plug your bitch like a 6-string. Jordan with the bitches got 6 rings. Smoke till my bitch split screen. The press with pain pills and sip lane. Riding dirty, but I'm extra clean. Lyrics nice, but I'm extra mean. All-star heavyweight like Overeem. The bitch lunch like she open me. I flip money like Clover G. Gang hustle like TIP. It's all baby like DIG. Acronym like KRIT. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Where your artery, cutting up, who sharpens me, rolling up accordingly, pulling hoes, no sorcery, rapping like y'all forcing me. If I ain't right, then it's forgery. Nigga selling to the rock like a Florida beat. Lyrical monster on the Lord of Beats. Text nigga, my bitch Georgia Peach. Pimp tight nigga, I do more than cheat. Cold like D-Wade, I ignore the heat. Bitch, on my way, hit the short for reach. Money jumping like a nigga on the sneeze. Cause the always winning like what's the V? The game long, but I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame long,